Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the business meeting of the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners for Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. Let us please come to order. And starting us off today, for the purpose of an invocation, the Reverend Jason Vanderveer.
I like the new seating arrangement, by the way. It looks good. Let's pray. Father, we just come before you this afternoon, and we just ask first and foremost that you would be here, that you would be working in this place, Lord. We know that you've ordained government. We thank you for the blessing, Lord, of the society that you've given us, the leaders that you've given us, the servants, Lord, that are here for the benefit of your people. And so we pray that there would be an environment where you can continue to work, that you would draw all men to yourself. Lord, that you would bless those that serve, that you'd keep those that are often in harm's way safe. Lord, that you would work, especially in this time, Lord, that the agenda, all of the items, Lord, that they would be for the benefit of people. Lord, that you would just work and give wisdom. We pray for our leaders that you'd bless them, bless their families, be with them, guide them. We love you, Lord, and we thank you, and it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. If everyone will please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turning to the county attorney for certification of the agenda.
Yes, sir. The county attorney's office has reviewed all items on the agenda. You have appropriate jurisdiction over these matters.
Thank you, Counselor. Commissioners, do we have any disclosures for any items on the agenda today?
I have none, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
No.
Nor do I. We're going to start off today with as we usually do, with ceremonies and proclamations. Up first, we do have a resolution recognizing school resource officers and Caroline Frizzell for staff.
That went under. Yeah. What's up?
I know how I would approach this. How do you guys approach this?
Really impressive to see. Every time you walk in the classroom, the entire classroom lights up.
19. That's easy. Oh, I get a star. Nice.
The kids are coming up to you, they're showing you their footwear selection of the day.
Or score.
And then you talk to them, and they talk to you like friends.
It's pretty obvious that you have a great relationship with the kids here.
That's the goal. I think that's the ultimate goal.
Be yourself and be there for the kids.
Show up as yourself.
Exactly.
Do you want this pressure? Are you sure? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Stop reading my mind. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Playing rock, paper, scissors with the kids or doing football.
Bo Nix ain't got nothing on me.
You allow the kids to be comfortable with you. And then when they're comfortable, they're allowed to tell you things that
It normally wouldn't.
Exactly.
That relationship is critically important. They truly make a difference in these kids' lives. They truly make a difference in the safety of each campus. Our SROs are handpicked by the Sheriff's Office and the school district just to ensure that we've got a good fit. Bottom line is that SRO is there to save lives. God forbid that they're needed in that role.
Has there been a particular moment that really stands out to you?
A hard time in my life was when we had the incident at STEM school. I was actually over at Valor when that happened.
So much of what we're doing today with school resource officers is upon reflection of what occurred and trying to invest so that a tragedy like that doesn't happen again.
You have that one moment, that one thing that occurs.
The main one that really stands out is one of our students was feeling suicidal. She went up to the rock up here in Council Rock and was texting a friend that she was going to jump off.
A few years ago, I had a student that was in crisis. She was self-harming.
There's been many times that I've talked to kids and just really just let them know that I'm there for them, no matter what it is.
But ever since then, she hangs out with me all the time.
Wow.
She's actually doing really well.
That's
She
fantastic.
graduated and everything's going great.
It gives me goosebumps because you'll never know all of the lives that you have impacted by your presence in this building.
Not in this house, Daniel.
This is the best police officer ever.
No matter how upset your parents get at you, trust me, I know this, your parents will still love and respect you.
On behalf of the county, I just want to thank you so much.
It's not just us that are behind you guys. It's all 400,000 people that live here.
Oh, boy. Thank you, guys.
Cheese.
That's great, guys.
Like to invite up Commander Derek Castellano from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Did you want me to go ahead and read the resolution now?
Please.
Okay, will do. So thank you again for the opportunity. A resolution recognizing school resource officers. Whereas Douglas County has the largest school resource officer team in the state with 43 officers protecting every elementary, middle, and high school in the county. Whereas school resource officers of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office are specially trained to work in the school environment with children and young adults, addressing their specific needs, challenges, and safety concerns. Whereas every school resource officer attends training sponsored by the National Association of School Resource Officers and attends a refresher training sponsored by the Colorado Association of School Resource Officers, locally and nationally, to stay on the cutting edge of this field. Whereas Douglas County is dedicated to the safety, the well-being, and education of children, with the commissioners investing in school safety and resources, including voting unanimously in 2024 to share costs with the schools for the funding of 7 new resource officers to provide Douglas County with the largest team in Colorado. Whereas School Resource Officer Appreciation Day is nationally recognized on February 15th, 2026 this year, but due to the significant impact on Douglas County, the Board of County Commissioners wishes to recognize their contributions for a full week, declaring February 23rd through February 27th as School Resource Officer Appreciation Week. Be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas that the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, Colorado, passed and adopted this 24th day of February 2026 in Castle Rock, Douglas County, Colorado.
All right, thank you, Commander.
Thanks, sir.
Very much appreciated. We'd now like to invite up representatives from the Douglas County School District, our partners in the SRO program.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Erin Kane, the proud superintendent of Douglas County Schools. I want to thank the commissioners, Sheriff Darren Weekly, and Derek and our entire SRO team for all that they do for our schools. It makes a massive difference to have so many SROs present in our schools. You can see from the video that their partnership with our schools and with our children is incredible, and the impact that they have had on the lives of so many of our children across our entire district, 61,000 in Douglas County Schools, has been extremely impactful. So we are just incredibly thankful for the relationship, and that's all I wanted to say. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any board members that you have present, we'd be happy to hear from as well.
Thank you for the opportunity. I hadn't planned to speak, but I appreciate being able to say thank you. Thank you for the service that you provide our students. Thank you for the service that you provide my children in this district. This partnership is wonderful. Security in our schools is one of my highest priorities when I went into this role, and I'm just so impressed across the board with not only the service that you guys provide, but grateful for this partnership. Thanks.
Thank you. Board, any comments at this time?
Mr. Chair, I do have maybe just a couple of comments. And, You know, in my 8th year as a commissioner, I look at Superintendent Kane and Danelle and this amazing school board, and it's really a legacy moment about partnership. One of the things I ran on was school security, and I don't know why. I mean, I've got 3 kids, and it was really on my heart. That's not necessarily my lane. I mean, the protection of students is really in the lane of the school district. And then 3 months into my first term, we had the STEM shooting. So, you know, fast forward to today, and to be the county that has the largest number of SROs in the entire state. Again, it's that good news that we will never hear about, you know. Be great if the media did report on that. But the important thing is that we have not had an additional catastrophic incident in our schools since that day. And it's because of your leadership, your partnership, your willingness to work with the county that we have this many SROs. After the incident occurred, we formed a physical school security committee and a mental health committee, and one of the recommendations was to increase the number of school resource officers. Having that personal relationship with students is so absolutely seminal to that day-to-day security. And, you know, due to the leadership of both our sheriff, the superintendent, and conversations with the county, I know we're talking about adding animals, more animals. We already have a couple, and that really is a significant security measure. We love animals because they're soft and you can pet them and they're wonderful, but it really, based on the statistics, increases the likelihood of a student engaging with an SRO by about 10 times. So that relationship is so critical. So we really just thought it would be important today to invite you all to say thanks and to personally recognize you for your leadership in the district. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, and thank you for those words. We community leaders often talk about what makes a great school, what makes a great education. We have folks here with us today who have dedicated their lives to answering that question and to following through with what makes a great education. You need great teachers, you need engaged parents, you need curious kids that are willing to show up and work hard and be willing to learn. But the foundation of everything, at least when I drop my kid off at school every day, it's safety and trust, that everything else builds upon from there. And it's what makes learning possible, what makes kids be able to be curious in the classroom and not worried, and parents the exact same. And that's what we're here to celebrate today. I want to extend my sincere thanks and the thanks of this board to our school resource officers and the leadership of the board that came before me, the leadership that we've had since I joined the board, and especially to our school district, who has just been phenomenal in this partnership to keep our kids first and foremost safe. Our SROs, I wish more could be with us today. It is a school day, so we'll get with them after the school year, I'm sure. But they are so much more than a uniform in the hallway. They're mentors, peacekeepers, steady presence to the students during some of the most formative years of their lives. And I'm just so thankful that there's one at my kid's school, and there's one at all schools of Douglas County. And if there is one missing, then we need to talk about that, but especially when these new schools open throughout the county as population continues to grow. It's just something that I hope the future boards of county commissioners and the school district will put first and foremost as a priority. Again, thanks to the school district for being here today. Thank you for the partnership that has just really separate our program from, and program for safety, separates it from any other in the nation. And so congratulations to you as a school board, and thank you from the bottom of my heart as a parent and just someone who cares so much about the kids of our community.
Thank you, Commissioner. I definitely would like to thank those who are being honored by this resolution. I mean, Commander Castellano, thank you. Thank you for putting together a good team. Thanks for making sure that team shows up every day for our kids. Please do extend my commendations down to each and every member and tell them how much they are appreciated. Not just by the 3 guys that are sitting up here saying yes to a resolution, but really by everybody here in Douglas County who cares about the kids that live here. With that, gentlemen, we do have a resolution that's been placed before us. How would the board like to take action upon it?
Mr. Chair, if it pleases the board, I would move that we adopt the resolution recognizing school resource officers.
I'll proudly second that.
Very good. Any further discussion? My only point of discussion is I think this is an excellent resolution to adopt at this time, and I look forward to several more years of setting aside time every year to make sure that these, people who serve the community, these officers amongst us, are recognized in this manner. There is a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that resolution is adopted. I'm being told it's time for a photo, so Commander, get your team together. Superintendent, board members, if you would please come forward and join us for this photo. And it is A-OK to applaud.
Chair, how do you want to do the challenge points?
Oh, let's take them up. You hand them out. Would everybody like to join us once again in a round of applause for SRO? Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Very much appreciated. Thanks for helping honor these guys. Superintendent. Good to see you again. Good to see you. Welcome.
That'd be cool. Just E better.
All right. Go. All right, moving on through our agenda at this time. We've come to the moment to deal with our consent agenda. The consent agenda is taken care of on a single motion. No comments are from the board are given, no deliberation by the board, except for all items on the consent agenda as a whole, unless an item is removed at the request by a member of the board. At this time, gentlemen, I actually would ask that we consider removing item O as an Oscar from the consent agenda. Any objections?
No, Mr. Chair.
How would we like to take action on the consent agenda as modified?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the requests in items A through N and P through AB of the consent agenda. Item A, C, and O have been removed for discussion.
And I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda is adopted as amended. At this time, we turn to our regular agenda. And gentlemen, item O from the consent agenda will now be item D on the regular agenda. Our first item up on our regular agenda is a public contract for services with TransAero LTD for exclusive use helicopter services for the Office of Emergency Management and purchase order for the approval of $1,530,000 budget line item. Tom Kenny, Deputy Director of Emergency Management, presenting.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Kenny, Deputy Director of Emergency Services for staff. Today I'm presenting regular agenda item 4A, public contract services with TransAero Limited for exclusive use helicopter services for the Office of Emergency Management and purchase order for an approved $1,530,000 budget line item. As a result of the continual dry conditions in and around Douglas County for 2026, the Douglas County Office of Emergency Management is requesting approval for a purchase order and the renewal of the public contract for services with TransAero Limited, with a maximum expenditure of $1,530,000 for a minimum of a 168-day mandatory availability period. TransAero Limited was selected from eligible vendors and awarded a public contract for services in 2023, following the county's open bid process and procedures. The awarded contract includes options to be extended annually for an additional 4 terms beyond the initial 1-year contract, contingent upon annual funding being appropriated, budgeted, and otherwise made available for such purposes, and subject to the county's satisfaction with all products and services received from the preceding term. The contract allows a helicopter to be on during times of high fire danger outside the core 168-day mandatory availability period and includes an option called modified availability. These options include extending the contract term, placing the helicopter and crew on standby from TransAero headquarters that reduces rates during the winter, or having them available in the county during periods of high fire danger, ensuring we have multiple options to meet both the county's fiscal and emergency response needs. With the $1,530,000 budget approval and the maximum expenditure purchase order, OEM retains financial flexibility and discretion to order the contract helicopter back into Douglas County as needed throughout the year. Thank you, Commissioners. This contract and funds will continue our collective goal of hitting wildfires hard, heavy, fast, while saving lives and property within Douglas County. Are there any questions I can answer?
Questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions on this one either, but I'm just so incredibly pleased. Tom, you've been a remarkable and professional leader of this organization alongside Mike Alexander. Emergency management is top of the line. And yet again, here we are with another superlative. We are the only county in the state of Colorado that has its own dedicated helicopter and helitack team. I find that remarkable. I really do. I scratch my head. As the chair of the Metro Area County Commissioners, representing 3.1 million people, my colleagues know, I am regularly pressing upon my commissioner colleagues to the north to consider adopting a measure similar to this, because we know that the #1 potential threat to our entire community of 400,000 people is the threat of wildfires. And it's not if, but when. I know this last year you put out nearly 50 fires, 10 of which were outside of the county. And we get reimbursed for each one of those that's outside of the county, but any of those could have been catastrophic. I know we talk a lot about what happened in Leviers over the summer, how we had to evacuate, you all had to evacuate an entire town because a train was causing some sparks that ended up with the wildfire approaching at or near the property lines. And unfortunately, although we were told to rely upon the state for the state's helicopter, turns out that helicopter was in disrepair, was not available that day. And I know that was a very seminal moment for all of us. Certainly, I don't want to speak for the sheriff, but he's shared that publicly many times, that the value of having our local resources and aerial support team is just, you can't overstate it. Because of your effort, energy, and the work of this helitack team, not a single life was lost in Leviers. Not a single structure was damaged, and it would have been. So this is really pennies on the dollar. I know Mike always says that 1 square mile in Douglas County is about $150 million in property values, just 1 square mile. So this 1.5 million seems like a really, really strong, proactive form of resources.
Any further questions from the board? I have none at this time. So moving along, we did not receive anyone signing up for public comment on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak on public comment at this time? Seeing none, let's bring it, by all means, please, ma'am. Well, please come on forward, ma'am, if you'd like to speak on public comment. I believe the board was apprised of that news story about 30 minutes ago from our dispatch team. But please tell us your name and where you're from, and you'll have 2 minutes, ma'am.
My name is Carolyn Williamson. I have been a resident of Douglas County for 33 years and counting, and I live in Parker. I just saw that there was a fire 8 miles south of Franktown and 8 miles east of Larkspur. a brush fire because of this dry conditions. And my immediate worry was my horse and my donkeys that are boarded in Franktown. Do I need to leave now to evacuate them in my trailer? So I'm really glad that we have a helicopter is a helicopter been dispatched?
I have not seen an update, ma'am, and by the way, usually, ma'am, we wouldn't answer a question, but I can understand your concerns. So fire and patrol are en route to Wildfire Interface Fire, Lake Gulch, Dahlberg. At this time, no notification about dispatching the helicopter at this time, ma'am. Your time continues.
Well, at least it's not windy today, so we have that going for us. But yeah, I just saw that and was alarmed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very much appreciate you bringing that to the attention of all your neighbors. Let's definitely keep an eye on how that situation develops. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on public comment? With that said, let's bring it back to the board. Board, we do have this contract before us. How would we like to take action upon it? Tom, would you like to add a few additional comments prior to
I
the board?
can say we do have aerial resources responding. We have a large tanker and an air attack platform, which are going to be really effective within that grass fire. And then we're assessing right now whether we need helicopter resources with this fire. But we haven't brought down the helicopter yet at this point. But we do have other aerial resources en route. And then Director Alexander is actually out there right now.
All right. Tom, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Board, without further ado, how would we like to take action on this rather pressing contract?
Well, Mr. Chair, if it pleases the board, I will make a motion to approve a public contract for services with Trans-Aero Ltd. for exclusive use helicopter services for the Office of Emergency Management and purchase order for approved $1.530 million, $1,530,000 budget line item.
And I'll probably second that. We talked previously, and it was referenced how Leviers was essentially saved by the helicopter being able to act quickly when the state helicopter was down. We used to just have one state helicopter, and it often lived in the summer season on the west side of the Continental Divide, which makes sense because that's where a lot of the big forest fires are. During my time there, pushed very hard for a second one, but still, it's a really big state, and oftentimes those helicopters are actually out of state. So if there's a big fire in Montana, our state helicopter, it shouldn't during the big fire season, but from time to time we'll go out, or we'll, during the situation in Leviers, just be down for maintenance. This helicopter, it's when deadly fire is rolling, and we do get those quite often in Douglas County. We have lots of grassland here, and we have lots of homes that butt up right against that grassland. So when deadly fires come into the front doors of our citizens, I'm really very thankful that we have this Heli-TAC team in place. So I'm proud to second the motion, and Godspeed. It might be a quite the difficult year ahead of us when it comes to fire, and it's one of those things. And I think I don't want to speak for you guys, but I know if I wake up at 2, 3 a.m. worried about something, it's the fire season ahead of us. So, and I'm very thankful that we have the only Heli-TAC team in the county, from a county perspective in the state. So proud to second.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I might just add, I really, I agree with my colleagues' comments. I think that's well stated, and I couldn't agree more. For the listening public, including the gentlewoman that is, concerned about her property, I know there are probably a lot of individuals that are concerned about their properties. And this might be a good time to briefly share with the public the work of the Wildfire Action Collaborative. So in addition to this amazing Heli-TAC team, we really have a focus in the Wildfire Action Collaborative around prevent, fight, and recover. So prevention is reducing risk before ignition. That is forest and property mitigation. That's shaded fuel breaks along evacuation routes and WUI edges, prescribed burns. There's a county in-kind match program for property owners where we will help you out up to 50% if you or your neighbors or your HOA or your metro district chooses to mitigate your densely wooded property areas. That's a huge help to all of us. We're working on home hardening and defensible space, and then subdivision ingress and egress so that people can get in and out when and if there is a fire. Many of you have heard about the Woody Biomass and Biochar project. That's also first in the nation, not just first in the state, but that will convert mitigation debris into biochar. We do have a biochar pilot program that's coming online this year that is soil restoration, erosion control, and post-fire recovery. And then we're going to focus on hyper-local communication, education, and outreach. And I really want to salute our communications team. We try to communicate at the county level, but one thing that's worked really well is to reach neighborhoods right where they're at. So our amazing communications team has engaged in neighborhood level engagement, again with the HOAs and metro districts. They're in neighborhood newsletters, local wildfire readiness meetings, property-specific mitigation guidance, and then also practical evacuation education. And that's a big deal, primarily for older adults, vulnerable populations that may not be able to get out in the event of something extremely catastrophic. So we're talking today about suppression excellence. We have that expanded HeliTAC team, that permanent year-round helicopter, which is that dynamic suppression funding that we're working on. We're also elevating the use of technology. Many people don't know that we're actually using AI to detect wildfires before they even begin. So it's a really state-of-the-art technological advance that the county's engaged in. And then finally, just recovery. We want to make sure that if there is a catastrophic wildfire, that we're able to restore faster and rebuild smarter with temporary housing, accelerated rebuilding permits, mental health response, post-fire biochar deployment, watershed protection, and a few other items. So it really is part of a robust, comprehensive, and strategic management of wildfires. And this team, I really want to brag on them because they are state, federal, and local citizens, experts, noxious weeds, fire suppression individuals, emergency managers, and they're doing such a great job. So just wanted to highlight that in case the public is wondering what else are we doing to prevent this risk. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you, Commissioner. Thanks for all that work over the years on this very important matter that obviously this contract supports. And by the way, I do speak in favor of the motion. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor of approving this contract, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contract is approved. Moving on to item 4B. A public contract for services with Basis Partners for the Quebec Street Park Meadows Drive Improvement Project, final design in the amount of $839,502.40. Douglas County, project number is CI 2025-014. Amy Strathalopoulos, pavement management supervisor for staff.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Amy Strathopoulos presenting for staff. Today, I am pleased to present the Quebec Street Park Meadows Drive Improvements Final Design Project. This is a public contract for services with Basis Partners. This project is located on Quebec Street, just south of C470. We are currently wrapping up the initial concept design with Basis Partners. The goal of this project was to address congestion in the corridor. Issues we were looking at were, as you're driving northbound on Quebec, the right turn onto Park Meadows was creating a queue that was blocking the through traffic. As you cross over Park Meadows, traffic starts to weave to get towards that C470 ramp, and then the ramp onto C470 backs up onto Quebec Street. So Basis Partners came up with these concept designs. I know these graphics are very busy and maybe a little bit hard to read. North is actually pointed to the right, so Quebec Street is going from left to right. So one proposal is that we extend that right turn lane onto Park Meadows Drive from northbound Quebec. And then also they took a look at that right turn onto the C470 ramp and expanding that from 1 lane to 2 lanes. They ran a traffic analysis and they showed that these improvements would help the level of service. This phase 1 concept design plan included an early action plan. So this summer we do plan on refreshing the pavement markings, and then our internal transportation team is looking at the signal timing. So this will provide some relief in the near term. So the next step is the project that I'm speaking about today, the concept design. We will develop this into construction documents. This corridor also needs a pavement reconstruction. Quebec Street is quite old. It has passed its useful service life. The amount of deterioration and the time and money we're spending on repairs is growing greatly, and so we've reached that tipping point where it's time to replace the pavement. So this will include removal of sidewalk, curb, gutter, pavement, median, and then we will rebuild the entire corridor at the same time that we're implementing these changes to help the level of service. Basis Partners was chosen for the initial concept design through an RFP process. 4 firms were solicited from the shortlist and 4 proposals were received. Basis Partners received the highest score and had a competitive fee proposal. They did an outstanding job on phase 1, and so we are planning on continuing with them for this final design. The project will kick off in spring of this year with survey, subsurface utility engineering investigation work, and a geotechnical evaluation. We expect 30% plans in summer, 90% plans in fall, and then by next winter, so this would be winter of 26-27, we expect to have the property acquisition complete. That extended right turn lane will require a right-of-way acquisition. And then we are planning on construction in either 2027 or 2028. And I do want to point out that that ramp onto C470 will require coordination with CDOT, so that may get built as a separate project. The design contract amount is $839,502.40 to Basis Partners, and the approximate construction cost is $12 to $14 million, and this will be put out as a hard bid. On behalf of staff, I recommend the approval of the public contract for services to Basis Partners for the Quebec Street Park Meadows Drive Improvements Project final design. Thank you.
Any questions from the board for staff?
No questions, just really appreciate the diligent work, and I'll have more comments after public witness testimony.
Yeah, I will as well. This is my district. I read the packet and am familiar with this. This is a much needed improvement. So I also will look forward to citizen comment, but certainly I'm pleased to see this come forward.
It surprises me not at all that neither of you have questions about this intersection because you've shared that you drive through it often. And believe it or not, even as a Castle Rock resident, I drive through this often when in Highlands Ranch area. And I have no questions either because, yeah, I know why this is being done. At this time, we did not have anyone sign up for public comment on this agenda item. Is there anyone who would like to give public comment at this time? I will make sure I look twice this time. And seeing none, bringing it back to the board for action. How would we like to proceed on this contract?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this was one of the first projects when I joined the board that I brought to the county. A very important project. For those of you who might not be from Highlands Ranch, all of our little roads go into big roads, and those big roads go into really big roads, and only a couple really exit outside of I-20 or exit outside of Highlands Ranch to get you north-south on 25 or east-west on C470, E470. This is one of those big ones. If you live anywhere really to the east of University, this would be your way, and for many people in Lone Tree as well, their way to get onto C470, which will get them either, well, anywhere across the north and south of the metro area. It's the main way out. It's also the key point of contention where we see the most road rage. Is that right lane just gets so backed up that people try to go around. They're in a hurry to get to work. It creates a very dangerous situation. And there's a little sidewalk there that people walk on too that creates a very dangerous situation. So this is one that we've been working on as a board for about a year now. So this isn't our first briefing. It's probably our fourth or fifth briefing on the topic, and very much appreciate the work. And therefore, Mr. Chair, I move to approve a public contract for service with Basis Partners for the Quebec Street Park Meadows Drive Improvement Project final design in the amount of $839,502.40. This is Douglas County project number CI 2025-014. And one last comment after making the motion is we just need to be quite sensitive. There's a morning rush hour, not just for all of Highlands Ranch. When Highlands Ranch wakes up in the morning and leaves, it's basically like a Broncos game getting out. And at night, it's like a Broncos game coming home. Not many people go in and out, and a lot of them are on this road. But there's also a K through 12 school right there. So we must be very sensitive to the school year start and stop times and when the construction will be able to proceed. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So the story that you haven't heard, folks, we had to swear Commissioner Van Winkle in a little earlier than we expected. And so, and of course, we had time integrating him onto the board. And so we had the special ceremony down here. And I walked up to Kevin to say, hey, congratulations, you won, you're here now. You're actually a commissioner. And he said, gee, something like, gee, thanks, George. By the way, have I told you about this really crappy intersection? And so when Commissioner Van Winkle says we've been working on this for a little more than a year, I assure you, it has not been too much more than a year, but it was one of the first items he introduced here to the board. And so really just hit the ground running right away. I'm really glad that we're here to get that project moving because, yeah, every time I get into that Sam's Club, yeah, that's a horrendous intersection that we're going to be improving. There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well, I would just echo those high compliments for our colleague as a true son of Highlands Ranch. I know you're always looking out for everybody, not only in your district, but throughout the county. And this, yeah, this is such an important area. So thank you for your leadership on this. Yeah.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that contract is approved. Turning to our next item on the agenda, item 4C, which is a second reading of an ordinance to support law enforcement and crime prevention in Douglas County, Colorado. County Attorney Jeff Garcia presenting for staff.
Thank you, sir. Sarah, can I get some IT help? I can't. It's not pulling up the list.
Yeah. Can send Caroline you want to send Caroline a text?
Best IT department. Just want to thank everybody for having the opportunity to discuss this again. This is our second reading. The first reading was conducted on December 9th. This is a ordinance to support retail theft by requiring compliance with a state law. So it was January of 2025, as we're talking about a year ago, when Commissioner Teal first brought the question of whether or not we could do something like this to me. He had been approached by an individual in the community. So this has been going on as a point of discussion for a little over a year. When tasked with this, we looked at the changes that are occurring in retail theft. I think many of us have seen on the television videos of large groups of individuals going into stores and committing shoplifting at a larger scale than may have been historic. And we looked back at what the state has already done with this. And in 1979, the state passed a law that requires mandatory reporting of crimes. This would include retail theft. In 1981, that ordinance 188-115 was extended to allow anyone who's making such a report to be free of liability for such a report. The goal of this was to really change expectations. Part of the community presentation and part of the community outreach we heard was that there is an understanding amongst retailers that if they called, shoplifting wasn't being prosecuted, or if they called, there was no response from law enforcement. That's not the case. We've had the DA at presentations like this. We've had the sheriff at presentations like this, and they're saying that when you commit shoplifting or retail theft in Douglas County, you are prosecuted, and there is a response. And that is a goal to support law enforcement, to support our sheriff's department in making Douglas County a safe place. One of the things that was really wanted to make clear is what the goals weren't. Because we had questions. We had questions at the first reading. Was it to penalize victims? Absolutely not. We want to encourage victims. We want to empower victims, people who are subject to retail theft, to come forward and say, hey, this occurred, and can you help me with this? To not discourage reporting. Revenue creation is not something that this ordinance could do. And not to create any unsafe conditions. We're not asking anyone to be heroes. We're asking them to pick up the phone or get online and make an online report. Before the first reading, there was a retail theft summit organized by the DA's office and the sheriff's office, local police organizations, the police chiefs of our municipalities were there, and they discussed the problems of retail theft. It was discussed at our homeless initiative. It was discussed before the board of the Douglas County Economic Development Coalition, and we had public discussion at our first reading. Since the first reading, we had an online submission form for individuals to discuss this, to share their ideas, and to submit email and online suggestions to make this an ordinance that best supports our community. We received over 130 responses to that. I myself, at the Douglas County Attorney's Office email box, received comments on this as well. We had a meeting with the Colorado Retail Council. At that meeting, we received a great deal of support. They were surprised that the direction was to put more resources to supporting and protecting retail business and to prevent retail theft. And then edits were provided by the Colorado Retail Council through a letter, and those edits have been adopted. I'm going to talk about those in more detail. But the public really has had input on this. They asked for a clear intent statement. We've done that. Define where this would apply. This applies in unincorporated Douglas County. Highlight the reasonable awareness standard, online reporting, good faith and bad actor sections. There's a real thought amongst the retailers that if this was an accident, that this should not be enforced, and we agree. It's not the point of this. This is to encourage good actors to report and be part of the solution, to provide a poster so that employees understand what their duties are, to not use this ordinance as evidence to cite a business for a nuisance, and provide greater discretion. CRC provided three additional requests. One is to make sure that the ordinance did not require any employee to endanger themselves. Absolutely not. That wasn't the goal of the ordinance. We don't want that. We want people to pick up the phone if something bad is happening or get online. Also to make sure that employees aren't encouraged to track someone who's doing bad or to do continued observation. That wasn't the goal of this either. The last, which wasn't included, was to reduce the reporting requirement for theft of lower than $50. And because we are piggybacking this on the state statute, we couldn't do that because that's not what the state law states. There was some misreporting and some miscommunications. My office and the county Board of County Commissioners have been contacted about this. Whether or not it created a $1,000 fine for mistakenly failing to report, absolutely not. The ordinance references a state cap on civil citations. It is not about fining businesses $1,000. And making employees pay for their mistakes making employees pay for their employer's policies. This ordinance does not apply to natural people. So if you're an employee, that's not the case. The goal of this is to make sure policies aren't enacted that encourage businesses not to comply with the Colorado law and to encourage unsafe environment. I spoke about this just a moment ago, but really this is picking up the phone or going online. The Sheriff's Department has a wonderful resource where you can go in, report theft. There's a little bit of guidance on that. If this is adopted, it It will take effect April 4th of this year. I would like to note that there is a bill going through the House right now, and it's good to see that the state is seeing this as a problem, that retail theft isn't something that we're pulling out of the air or that it's something on the news, but it's actually something that the entire state is considering. That bill is Retail Theft Prevention Program. It's creating an advisory committee, data analysis, and possible future grants to prevent retail theft. So as a second reading, this would be adoption. So if this is passed by the board today, this would take effect and become law on April 4th.
All right, thank you,
that's it for me.
Counselor. Questions from the board? Is there anything more, Counselor? Sorry.
No, sir.
Very good. Questions from the board?
You know, I just have a few comments about this, and I'm really pleased to see the thoughtful legal process, first reading, second reading, active engagement with the community. And I want to be really clear about why we're here. This ordinance is not about victimizing victims. It's about restoring public safety and basic rule of law. I know this board was reacting to a real shift in the zeitgeist, which was people walking out of stores with carts full of merchandise on camera in broad daylight, and nothing was happening. That doesn't just hurt businesses. That hurts workers who feel unsafe. It hurts small businesses that can't absorb losses. It hurts communities when stores close, prices rise, and neighborhoods lose access to basic goods. I know that as a board, we reject the idea that we heard in testimony during the first reading that, quote, some people just need to steal to survive. Douglas County has food banks, a heart team, shelters, churches, nonprofits, and social services. When people need help, what they need is not permission to victimize others. Compassion does not mean abandoning accountability. Public safety is not optional in Douglas County. It is the foundation of everything that we do. When we tolerate organized retail theft, and that's exactly what this is organized retail theft, we normalize lawlessness. And when lawlessness becomes normal, everyone pays the price, especially working families. We didn't do this in a vacuum. As we have said many times, every single agenda item gets public comment. We invited feedback, we listened. Beyond that, as you stated, Council, we engaged in stakeholder outreach with the Douglas County Economic Development Corporation, and we received no opposition from the Douglas County EDC and the business community. We also did meet, as you said, with the Colorado Retail Association, and we heard a couple of key quotes in that meeting. One was, "This is really refreshing." They said it was really refreshing. They're used to government breathing down their neck and telling them, hey, you got to pick and choose whether or not to call if there's a crime because we may not have the resources. That's not true in Douglas County. And our sheriff was right there to say, look, we want you to call every time. If there's somebody committing a crime, we are going to respond in Douglas County. And mouths were gasping and eyes were sort of wide, thinking that that was an actual resource here. So it was encouraging to see that. And the comment, again, from them is no opposition. So I'm pleased that this board engaged in the stakeholding that needed to be done. And again, just to conclude, I think this ordinance is about drawing a clear line. Douglas County supports victims, protects workers, and believes in a community where rules still matter. I don't think that's extreme. That's responsible governance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions from the board?
I do have a question, because it's one that I think I'm comfortable with, but it's one of the main questions I get, and this has been, of course, almost 80 days between first reading and now. It was a topic all last year, and it's really come a long way from the time it was first introduced as an idea to what we have before us today. It's actually a dramatically different approach than was originally proposed. But the question I get a lot is around the liability and the liability protection. So if you're a business owner, and set me right if I'm wrong, but if you're a business owner or employee acting in good faith, this will help protect those employees from civil liability under state law, correct?
That is correct. So in 1981, CRS 18.8.115 was amended to report to state that anyone making a report was not going to be liable for that making that report. And then to the extent that we've added on that, we have a good actor provision there that if someone mistakenly makes a report, or if someone mistakenly fails to make a report, but you're trying to make it to be compliant with the law, there is no violation.
Okay, and no fine, no penalty.
No fine, no penalty under that provision. And that's all up to the discretion of the court, because I think that's one of the things we talked about with the fine. This isn't something that the county just simply gets to levy, right? This is something where you'd get a citation and you'd go to court and you'd be able to say your piece, and then the judge would make a determination on that.
Okay. Well, I know meeting with Home Depot, Target, Walmart, Walgreens, all the others that we've been meeting with over the past several months, that was one of the points and questions that came up, so thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome, sir.
I guess my only question is, we did have the Retail Association in for a roundtable discussion after the first reading. I know we've received a document from them pertaining to this ordinance. Just remind me, did they state in that document that they were opposed to the passage of this ordinance?
They did not. In fact, they stated they were grateful for the work together, the cooperation that the county gave with them. They did provide some edits. Those edits were noted in my presentation. Some of those were included. It's on that first slide I showed where there was a number of initial edits after the first reading. A great many of those were provided by members of the CRC.
Okay. All right. Any further questions from the board before public comment?
I think, Mr. Chair, just important for note, thanks to you two, I had serious concerns with the very first draft that was introduced, and with all the changes that have been made between, all of last year, but especially between December 9th and today. I've come around to be very comfortable with it, especially talking with our retail partners, just normal moms and dads in the district, and also our law enforcement officers who want the tools. If they don't know about a crime, they can't pursue it. So if there's a organized retail theft ring that hits a Home Depot and a Target in the same day, but one doesn't report and one does, that makes their jobs much, much harder. So I've come around from the very first reading, and hopefully those who we hear from today will distinguish between what was originally proposed and what actually is passing today, which is free of fines and penalties and all that stuff.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further questions before public comment? All right, at this time, let's go ahead and open the floor for public comment. The first person I have signed up is Caroline Williamson. Now, ma'am, I know you did speak just earlier in the meeting, but if you could please, once again, give us your name, give us where you're from for the record on this matter.
My name is Carolyn Williamson. I'm a resident of Douglas County for 33 years. I was not aware until your speech about the new refinements of this. However, I still have some questions about when you say you consulted with the retail people, was it just the big stores? What about the 900 small businesses in this unincorporated district? It does feel to me like an unfair burden to put upon them versus, the big box stores that have, managers and a ton of employees, and basically punishing them if they don't, report a shoplifting. There's over 900 small businesses, are there not, in Douglas County? Did you consult with them? I know you can't answer, or you won't answer.
This is an opportunity for you to speak and us to listen.
I have questions. These are the questions that I have after hearing you speak. I think it deserves, some more consultation with the small businesses of this county. I'm reading government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It doesn't seem like you may have listened to all the people. Corporations are not people, contrary of what the Supreme Court says. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very much appreciate your comments. Bob Marshall, representative. Of course, you've been before us before, but please do give us your name and tell us where you're from.
Okay, Bob Marshall from Highlands Ranch. And I was just going to be a little sardonic and say I think this is just a fantastic idea. We probably should expand it. Require parents to report drug use by their kids and friends report drug use. We could have kids report bullying and if their money was stolen from them and punish them if they don't. I mean, the East Germans would be very proud of this ordinance. It must be the Chinese Communist Party influence that I've heard so much about here that's come into Douglas County. We were told that we should have factual content. whenever we make public comment, but we've had public comment that we're trying to go after the big box stores and the big corporations in the progressive cities of San Francisco and New York that are making these decisions. But I look through it and I'm like, what, you mean Walmart from Arkansas, Home Depot from Georgia, Office Depot from Florida, Safeway from Arizona? I mean, maybe Macy's, but that makes no sense. Even the district attorney and sheriff who were here on December 9 in full support of this ordinance have run away with their tail between their legs and won't even admit that they were in full support because this thing is toxic. I would really strongly suggest you rethink this because it's going to be in the news again and make Douglas County once again the butt of jokes statewide because punishing the victims despite what we're saying that we just want to encourage the victims, it's like the beatings are going to continue until morale improves. I'd strongly suggest rethinking this and not pushing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. We appreciate your comments. Julie Ort. And ma'am, you have, we'll get you set up with a little more convenient microphone for you. You have been before the board, but please do, once again, give us your name, tell us where you're from.
First, my name is Julie Ord. I'm from Douglas County, and I'd like to preface my comments by first just saying how exhausting it is to have Commissioner Layden and all three of you misappropriate comments I've made in the past and public comment.
Ma'am, if you could please speak to the matter at hand.
I am, in that I never once said that shoplifting shouldn't be a prosecuted crime. So I'll start with this. I continue to have questions about your theft prevention ordinance and wanted to take this opportunity to follow up on them since I never received a response from my email. My first question is if you could explain why the DA and the Sheriff's Office, who were prominently featured in the press conference you held that introduced this ordinance, have since withdrawn their support. I would like an answer as to why. And if they have, what is your reasoning for bypassing their concerns? Secondly, I listened in on your work session with the different groups. I know Target was there, the local businesses. What I heard was a resoundingly clear in that recording that they were overwhelmingly pleased with the support they received from the Sheriff's Office. What I heard repeatedly was that they have a comfort level that they said they wish they had in other counties with the Sheriff's Office reporting shoplifting. And at the press conference, Sheriff's Weekly indicated that he was fully staffed and available day and night to help these companies with this. So why, if we have this system and it isn't broken, do we need to fix it? Thirdly, I question the scope of this ordinance as it penalizes a victimized business, especially making no delineation between a big box company and a small storefront business that may not have the staff or the capacity to comply with yet even more anti-business red tape. Lastly, how does this ordinance address the lifelong deleterious impacts that an increase in false reporting may have on innocent individuals? Could this ordinance have the unintended impact of actually promoting customer profiling? So if employees feel like they have to report and they're going to get in trouble if they don't, could there be over-reporting, and will you be tracking that if there are false reports? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your comments. Len Whitten, please. Sir, if you could please give us your name and where you're from for the record.
Good afternoon, Len Whitten from Highlands Ranch. Unlike some of my friends here, I do support the ordinance requiring businesses to report theft. I not only think that, but I think we should expand the ordinance. It should be that all crimes are required to be reported. So if I see somebody run a stop sign or turn right on red, I am required to report that, and everybody around is required to report that. As a matter of fact, I believe that we should put sheriffs at stop signs in order to make sure that if a crime is committed, that everybody around that crime is held accountable for not reporting that crime. If we just let these crimes go unreported, then we will not know that crime is increasing. If you don't report a crime, then you don't know that crime happened. So we also need citizen patriots to commit more crimes in order to make sure that they are being reported by the businesses. We could reward the people that commit the crimes with a partial amount of the fines collected from the businesses that don't report said crime. So I asked the commissioners to expand the ordinance and order that everybody that has a crime committed against them that does not report that crime should be immediately fined. Otherwise, how will we enforce law and order if we don't commit crimes in order to make sure they're reported so we can find the victims? Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. That concludes public comment at this time, bringing it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'm honored to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance to support law enforcement and crime prevention in Douglas County, Colorado, and I wish to speak in favor of the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am really pleased to hear from the citizens and obviously receive any sort of input regarding this ordinance. I think it's important to address two things. One question was raised about why weren't more businesses consulted? And it was very clear in the opening comments that we made that we did consult with the Douglas County EDC, which does represent all 900 businesses in Douglas County. It also has the chambers that it used to inherit when it was the Highlands Ranch Chamber, and they had a merger several years ago. So when we engage in stakeholding with that organization and they provide no opposition and cheer on this notion of an ordinance supporting reporting of retail theft, then we take them at their word. But the purpose of a first and second reading is that we don't react overnight. We take the time. It has been, to Commissioner Van Winkle's point, quite some time since first reading. And we have engaged in significant dialogue with the public around that. So I'm certainly pleased. Again, I also want to reiterate, despite the sort of unusual sarcasm, that there already is a law on the books in the state of Colorado, a statutory duty for a person or corporation who has reasonable grounds to believe a crime has been committed to promptly report the suspected crime to law enforcement. And again, that's CRS 188115. So that's already a law on the books. Council, I don't know if you want to reiterate that so that that's heard, but we certainly heard that and we're aware of it.
No, I appreciate that. I think that there's some misunderstanding about this. Douglas County is not creating the need to report crime. The state did that. The state did that 45 years ago. What we're asking and what we're encouraging, well, not encouraging, we're banning policies from businesses to not comply with state law. So if there is going to be a corporate policy that says, my business or this business with this policy will not comply with state law, that is banned by this. In addition, if there is an employee who takes action to report a crime, they are not going to receive any kind of retaliatory action by their employer. They can't be fired or demoted or fined or lose a shift because they've reported a crime, because that's the policy. Instead, we're saying that we ask all businesses in the community to take up the duty that's been prescribed for more than 45 years. In addition, just to add just a little bit there, I know you discussed the EDC. We talked to the EDC. We talked to the Consumer Retail Council. We had 132 online responses. I received phone calls. They ranged from every size of store. We had small stores in Castle Rock call me. I had stores in the mall call me. We had a great broad breadth. And many of those 132 responses online were from store owners. And it was not just big box stores. We were not reaching out to Target and asking how to help them. We were asking, how do we protect businesses in Douglas County? And we got a response.
Thank you for reiterating that. I think that's an important comment. And, as we know, counties get the communities that elected officials and the citizens tolerate. And in large cities, unfortunately, under the zeitgeist, you do have rashes of crime, organized crime, where people walk into a Home Depot, walk out, we've seen the video, with carts full of thousands of dollars worth of drills, and nothing is done. This is the most prosperous county in the state of Colorado. We do not want it to become a target for organized crime. So again, this is elected officials working with the business community to make sure that we're keeping our county safe. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Garcia, for your presentation today. A couple things. Small business, of course, was consulted. I just heard from actually a hairdresser off Broadway a couple weeks ago saying thank you for this because they've had some issues in their little shopping center with the next door adjacent. They're between a liquor store and a grocery store, and they've had issues, and they just were very thankful. And that was just one small business. But of course, we got hundreds of emails and have had a portal open for some time. I do want to set the record straight here. It was said by opposition several times that the district attorney and the sheriffs now oppose this, and that is just a flat-out lie. That is made up. We have statements from them, and I can read them if you like, from our sheriff saying, quote, "This ordinance is a step in the right direction. It reinforces the importance of timely reporting and evidence preservation while focusing on protecting individual employees." And from the district attorney, we have very similar statements. So just because they're not here today, they have been in the meetings, and they have been with us over the past year really talking about this. And so yes, we met with Target and Walmart and Walgreens and all those, and Home Depot. We also met with the small businesses of Douglas County. So just, I think it seems as if the remaining opposition after the edits and after the amendments between first and second reading are rather absurd extremes. I know Bob Marshall, he carried a Confederate flag to try to be an absurd extreme and to create divisiveness. And today, comparing Douglas County to East Germany is just purposely trying to create division in our society when it really, at the end of the day, this is aimed, it's quite simple. Parents and families should be able to shop in Douglas County without fearing organized crime. And don't think twice. It is organized crime. It's connected to the drug activity and trading. It's connected to the auto theft rings that have run rampant in the Denver metro area for several years. I know if I polled the people in this room, I bet you know somebody that got a car stolen. This is all connected. It's all organized crime. And this is just one more tool in the toolbox of our sheriff. And also a tool in the toolbox of, that really sweet lady that works at my Walgreens that I see at least once a week. Protecting her from the liability, protecting her from perhaps her bosses if she were to report a crime. So I think what's left after the amendments is something I can wholeheartedly support, and thank the community really for a full year of engagement on this. We had our portal open for quite some time, for several months actually, where anyone could just get on and submit a comment to the board, and we took all those into consideration. I think we accepted nearly all of them that weren't just absurd extremes. The end result, I think, is something that the community will be quite proud of, and there will be no East German tactics here in Douglas County, despite the absurd representatives' notions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Having resided here in the county for 25 years since I left the Army, I've had the good fortune to get to know a lot of those small retailers that we've heard the public ask, well, what about them? These were not only people whose stores I shopped at, but these were people whose their children were classmates to my children in my schools when they grew up. Our kids played on the same sports teams growing up. And so before even bringing this before my colleagues, right about the time that I brought it to the general counsel for the county, I had an opportunity. This came up, guys, before, not this past Christmas, but the one prior. And so, your holiday shopping, why not ask the small shop owner, for those of us who choose to shop local, of course, hey, what do you think? The comment that stands out, and I will admit, it is a Castle Rock retailer who said this to me, but an owner, a proprietor of the shop, said, his business has insurance. He has to have insurance because what he sells represents, for that to be lost from sale, almost any one of his items is anything from the electric bill, not just for the store either, his home's electric bill to his home's mortgage. No, some of you are going to say, wow, that guy's really raking it in. No, he keeps a lot of inventory on the shelf. He has to. That's the nature of the business he's in. He can't afford to let anything just go away. He can't afford to not report it because he does insure his material. And the material, the first step the insurance company wants to know is, when did you report this crime? So he turned it on me very rapidly to say, listen, as a small business owner, he can't afford to just let something be shoplifted off his shelves. He has to report. And I went into a little more detail on what we were thinking about doing. That is this ordinance for adoption today. And he laughed at me. And he said, that's not for me. That's not for the small business owner like me. I can't afford to let anything get away from me. And then he did point a very large finger up the street at one of these big box stores that we have been fortunate to consult with, their representatives. And he said, that's for them, because they're following corporate policies, not decided here probably, that their people have to follow, or they do get fired, and they lose their jobs. I feel very confident this ordinance has been very carefully thought out for over a year, ever since one of, actually, Commissioner, it was one of your residents who handed me, from Lemtree, who handed me that folder initially. And standing right next to him, Commissioner, was one of the residents from your area, Highlands Ranch, encouraging me to do something along these lines. I speak in favor of the motion because I think we've done the right work to bring this forward, and it at the request of our own residents and in consideration of our own residents. And so I speak in favor of the motion. Is there any further discussion? There is a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. 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 And the ordinance is adopted. All right, our next item is 4D. This reminder, gentlemen, this is was originally item O as in Oscar on our consent agenda. It is Parks Funding Agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County School District in the amount of $336,769 for the construction of field lights at the Castleview High School. Luke Thornton, Parks Program Coordinator. That's not Luke.
It's not Luke. Yeah, we had to call an audible. Nick Gioke speaking for the Department of Parks and Recreation. The request today in front of you is for a parks funding agreement in the amount of $336,769 between Douglas County and Douglas County School District. The Douglas County School District submitted a funding application towards the construction of field lights at Castleview High School. The lights will be installed for use on the synthetic multi-purpose field. Douglas County School District presented its request to the Parks Advisory Board on March 24th, 2025, and the Board of County Commissioners approved the request at a work session on September 3rd, 2025. Staff's recommendation is to approve the parks funding agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County School District. I'm available for any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions from the board?
I have none.
No questions from me.
I have no questions. I think we've, as you pointed out, Nick, we have discussed this in great detail, including with members of our community who urged us to adopt this. At this time, I will go ahead and open the floor. I did not receive a sign-in sheet on this matter, but I'll open the floor for any public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comment? Please come forward. So Mark, I think you and I first met, I think it was actually 20 years ago when our two boys were on the same football team.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
But if you could please give us your name and
bet.
tell us where you're from.
You bet. My name is Mark Steinke. I'm a resident of Castle Rock for the last 20 plus years. And I'm also the director of Raptors Athletics, which is the non-profit youth sports organization predominantly centered in the Castle Rock area, Castle Rock, Castle Pines, and portions of Highlands Ranch also. So greetings first off, commissioners. Thanks so much for having me out here today. Good to see you all again. My comment has to do with the fact that we have a special relationship, I would say, with Castle View High School and really all of the high schools that we deal with our program. We have about 2,000 families in the Castle Rock area that participate in our programs, and those programs are only K through 8th grade, which means our primary purpose is to promote youth sports, youth organization, and agency discipline and organization for young men and women moving on into high school. So that's our goal, and our whole guideline is to provide guidance for younger athletes moving up into the high school. So the high schools is really why we do what we do. So we're really centered and focused on Rock Canyon, Castle View, and Douglas County. And our participation with their programs. We have a special relationship with Castle View, and this light programs, I coached my very first lacrosse practice on a Castle View field 21 years ago now in 2005. We really are restricted in fields, and we've turned away kids in our programs that you guys have known for years because we just don't have the space to put them. And so this will allow a special relationship that I've had with Castle View and that our program has had with Castle View over those 20 years, where we have been supporting really paying for rental of their fields and supporting the county and supporting the schools in that way. This would free up and open up additional space and time for us to provide the community program that we believe is so important to the youth and the parents of the youth in this county. So thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on public comment on this matter? Sir, we've seen you in many of these meetings. Please come forward and give us your name and tell us where you're from.
Scott Dowis, resident of Castle Rock and athletic director at Castle View. I just want to thank the board. I think this is an issue that our community has spoken out about. I want to thank you guys for recognizing that by providing these lights. There are going to be so many more youth in our community that can participate in athletics. And so I just want to thank you guys for hearing our community, recognizing this issue, and addressing it. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Let's bring it back to the board. Board, what action would we like to take on this contract?
Well, Mr. Chair, and this is one that I originally had several questions on. Mainly, it felt like I didn't want to be stepping into the territory of the school district, and their budget is bigger than ours, but they also aren't able to step up in this way. And we as commissioners hear very often, not a week goes by, I don't think I hear about a shortage of fields and rinks and pools and tennis courts and fill in the blank. And we heard today about the number of kids being turned away in our county. And to have come around on the issue, meeting with our youth sports teams and seeing really that this, for a fraction of the cost of building a brand new field or finding a brand new park or say purchasing land from the school district and then us turning it into a park. This is really a fraction of the cost that will add a lot of hours of daylight or of light to youth sports, which will get a lot more kids out there on the fields for flag football, soccer, all the sports. So track, everything that's offered to the Castle Rock folks. So I think it's a good response, a logical response to a need in our community for more fields. And so therefore, Mr. Chair, I move to approve parks funding agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County School District in the amount of $336,769 for the construction of field lights at Castle View High School.
And I'll second that motion.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. You know, I'll just say, gentlemen, I'll speak in favor of the motion. Hey, I know this was quite off the wall when I brought it forward on behalf of some of the folks that we've heard from today. Hey, thanks for hearing it out. I'm very pleased on where that number has been able to finally land, because if you recall, gentlemen, we did have a point in time when that number was actually much closer to $500,000, and if I recall properly, slightly over, actually.
Yeah.
So, a lot of good work. Nick, thank you for all the good work. Thank you guys for the good work on this to bring this one to fruition. Any further, I do speak in favor of the motion. Any further discussion? We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the funding agreement is adopted. Moving forward, that's the last item on our regular agenda. So moving forward to commissioner comments. Commissioners.
No comments from me. I know we're late for land use.
We are kind of behind, but Commissioner.
None for me.
All right. You know, you could have regaled us with your travels representing the county in Washington, D.C. this week.
Well, I'll be brief on that. And, you know, I think one thing that I was thinking about, you know, I mentioned I'm the chairman of Metro Area County Commissioners. Our county is this year. And convening that entity in Washington, D.C., and being able to bring in representatives from Congress on both sides of the aisle that are working with our board and other boards, regardless of partisanship, to do the right thing for the people of our community. They set a high bar, and I would challenge, you know, the members of our community and for us to continue to find ways in which we can work well together.
Thank you, Commissioner. I very much appreciate you taking the hit to go to snowy Washington, D.C. this last weekend.
Listen, that plane almost didn't land today. It touched down for 2 seconds and then went straight back in the air, so I'm thankful to be here.
I'm not saying I have a note here with my preamble about you not being here, but there might be a note here to that effect. But
There you
thanks for hustling and making the meeting, sir. Any other business the board we'd like to introduce at this time off the agenda? Let's go to the county manager report. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Doug. Folks, looks like we're ready to adjourn. Our next business meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. We are adjourned.